I'm reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. I'm in the first canto, chapter 6. I feel like I just understood why you want to get out of the circle of furtive activities, which is the cycle of karma, goodness, ignorance, darkness, sattvic, tasmic. For a while, I didn't quite understand why you would want to avoid sattvic activities and why you want to get out of the cycle of those. There's reactions from all these three categories, all these three modes. There's reactions and karma generated from them. And why would you want to get out of the cycle of the good karma? I understand why you want to get out of the cycle of passion and ignorance or darkness. I can understand that. But the good, quote unquote, good pious deeds, I still didn't understand why you want to get out of that. Doing my reading today, I came across this passage and it made something click for me. And that click was this. So I started making sourdough bread. And when I started making that bread and I brought the loaf to offer at Bhakti program, everyone was in love with the bread. And I was like, oh, great. I'm glad that people like the bread. So I've, kept bringing bread. And then after a while, they wanted me to sell the bread. And then I was like, fine. And I was like, well, you guys decide how much you want to pay for the bread and reach out to me when you want some bread and I can make some for you. And so I did that a little bit. I had a devotee want organic sourdough bread made with a special flour. I was resistant to that because, it would require me to learn and adapt my process. And I didn't really feel like I had a lot of time or bandwidth to be able to do that. I also wanted to help this devotee and have this devotee feel like there was something available, something that they were comfortable, really eating. And so I did that. And that's after they had bought the flour themselves and gave it to me to make the bread. And I think I told them like the first two or three loaves wouldn't cost anything because they provided me the flour to do it, which I didn't have to spend money on. And the flours were expensive, blah, blah, blah. And that began to feel burdensome. The first loaf I made was so hard to make. It was so much stress came out of trying to make this loaf, and I really didn't enjoy the process. And I felt a lot of anxiety because, the devotee had paid for this flour. It wasn't just my own. I felt like I couldn't experiment with it, like I had to get it right because if not, then, that flour would go to waste and I have to buy more flour, XYZ. Then now, I went up to Houston to a bhakti program there. And even one of the devotees up there, who, I was my first time meeting them, but they were a friend of a friend through a devotee. They were like, oh, I heard that you're the bread maker of Austin. And, I just started a flower company. And I'm thinking, oh my God. And I'm like, I can tell she wants to do business with me. She wants to sell me her flour. But I'm not making bread right now. I'm in school and I have so many other things going on right now. I don't really have the time or honestly the interest in making sourdough bread right now. And then in my semi-private talk with Guru, some other devotees brought up again that I make sourdough bread and that I do all these other things and that I can do anything. And I'm just like, it feels like so much pressure. And I'm like, I'm not making bread right now. And now I have to deny Guru something that he wants to try for me, but that I'm not doing. I'm not prepared to make a loaf. I wasn't preparing to make a loaf for him visiting this time. But now when he visits in April, he expects to have a loaf for me. And that is enough time for me to get everything prepared so that I can, make a delicious loaf for him. But then I just realized how this act of goodness I started off as just wanting to make some bread to share, to offer to God and to share with the devotees and something that, they would hopefully enjoy, that good figurative action. then turned into something with all of these other karmic reactions, a lot of which make me feel stress and anxiety and pressure to do something that's not where my focus is. It's on bread right now. In reading this passage, it made me think about that. And that could be the result of doing quote unquote a good thing for someone, or doing, a pious act, is that then, you know, people might want you to do that act all the time. And maybe it was just maybe it was just a situational thing. Maybe it was just like a one-time thing, or like, just out of fun. But then, people then expect it from you, and then you become known by that thing. I just wanted to share that. And I don't know if you guys have thought about this at all or realized this yourselves, but pious deeds also contribute to karma that has to be worked out. And I am working this out now. And if it's, if it's something that's, I don't know, meant to keep happening, that I have to keep making bread, and Guru asks me, I won't tell him no. So then I will make the bread, and I would consider that an auspicious act that hopefully won't subject me to more karmic reactions.